Well, welcome, test takers. We're broadcasting our weekly live stream Q&A for all FINRA and NASA exams from my studio here in fabulous Las Vegas. We have with us the test geek, Brian Lee, and myself, Dean Tenney, a Series 7 guru. If you're new with us, we always like to start with telling us what series you're taking and where you're joining us from. I think mostly the United States, but who knows? I noticed, Brian, on the YouTube channel, we sometimes do get some international folks. If you are an international test taker, you can petition for extra time and you take your exam. So that's something to know. And we usually start our channels with a little brief, our debrief on what you can expect to see on your exam. So sometimes we don't have anything new or exciting, but every once in a while we have a tidbit for you. And if you are going to be asking a question, welcome to chat, by the way. When we do brief and debrief, there's also victorious test takers in the mix. So you don't have to take Brian and Dean's word for things. You can talk to victorious test takers who sometimes are in the chat about what they saw. It's a little frustrating to me, but hey, it is what it is. I get it. This person asked me if it's on the test. I said it's not. They asked Brian's on the test. He said it's not. And then somebody who's a victorious test taker said it's not on the test. Woo! Thank you so much. So I get it. We probably have a credibility gap of some sort with you on that kind of thing. So feel free in the chat to communicate with each other if you'd like about those issues, particularly people who tested recently. Now, when you do ask a question, when I get to the question component here, after we get our housekeeping done, it helps us if you tell us what exam you're taking at SIE or Series 7, followed with a Q. So it makes it easier for me to pick those questions out of the chat. Now, brief and debrief means we like to talk about what is on the test and what is not on the test. And so that's fodder in the chat. If you'd like, say, Dean, should I worry about this? Brian, is this something to worry about in terms of making my mark or getting what Brian calls that P? And we're more than happy to tell you whether it's a big deal or not a big deal in terms of material to your success or not. So Series 7 debrief from this week. This is very odd. This keeps coming up, this question about universal life illustrations. And so it's a recognition test question. Make sure on Series 7, you are aware that it's a 12 and a 0. So if I'm doing a hypothetical illustration of universal life, I can use a 12% return. That's as high as I can go. But in one of the time frames, I have to use a 0. So kind of odd, but that's been popping up. 1035 exchanges can be done every 36 months. And you should know you can't go from an annuity to life insurance. There's very few life insurance questions. I always joke, guess B, assign it to the universe, move on. But these have been reports. Now, I also have from this person a bunch of stuff that we already know, but I'll just confirm for you. Taxation of variable annuities, mutual funds, no surprise. Whether you quote yield to call or yield to maturity on a bond at a premium or discount, the high risk one is a muni bond at a premium, and you must quote yield to call. So that's the high risk one for you Series 7 test takers. Got to use our memory aid, Epic. You got a question about a importer, exporter. Epic works fine. 50% probability when people see the muni bond purchased at a premium and adjusting that cost base doing straight line amortization downward. 10 to 15 questions on options, no surprise. Complaints are for your record, no surprise. Durable versus non-durable power of attorneys. Remember, durable power of attorney survive illegal incapacitation. Parity calculation, no surprise. Wash sale, no surprise. Letter of intent. What happens if they don't fulfill the letter of intent? The back flag the account. The point is, the customer cannot be hurt by filling out a letter of intent. So if there's any doubt, the customer should fill that out. Definitely know it's 13 months, backdated 90 days. Distinction between limited general partners, no surprise. General partners, remember, have unlimited liability. Limited partners have limited liability, shouldn't be involved in management. 1 or 2 questions on partnerships. Be able to calculate current yield, no surprise. Transferring accounts, 1 day to verify, 3 days to do it, so very testable. Beta, remember, is a measure of volatility as compared to the market as a whole. And remember, alpha is the return in excess of beta. I wouldn't get too much in that. Now, if you come back and join us for your 65 or 66, that's going to be a much bigger deal. Charts, head and shoulders, support and resistance, all that kind of stuff. You don't have to be an expert on a balance sheet, but do have a general understanding that when we convert the bonds, the company no longer is going to have interest charges. And so that means the earnings are going to rise, but that also means there's more shares to split that with. So just have a general understanding of this idea of what we call fully diluted earnings per share. So, okay, that's a debrief for today. The playlist on the channel, just so you know, there's 300 videos there. They're a buffet. So you take what you like, leave what you don't. So I get this question all the time. What should you watch? I have them in suggested watch order, but you can cherry pick if you'd like. If you see something that speaks to you, go for it. You find your series 6 or 7, whatever it is. The only series that has more than one playlist is series 7. There are 6 playlists for that. There's a playlist for practice tests and practice questions, a playlist for tutoring replays, a playlist for video lectures, a playlist for content outline. But other than that, it's pretty simple. You find your series, you hit the button. Best free supplement to your paid study materials. Now, in terms of a paid supplement, I had somebody ask me about a paid supplement today. Oh, before I get into paid supplements, make sure you check out the community page because I take polls there, and that feeds what I'm going to do in terms of content. So we had a poll recently about whether we should, what should be the sequence of our Thursday premieres. And I followed that poll for that sequence. That sequence is up. And so I'll put up another poll, and that will determine the sequence for the next few weeks about what's going to show up on a Thursday on the channel. We also started a new Reddit for Series 6s. I feel like our Series 6 test takers are underserved in terms of, they join us on the Reddit, but it's not their own. So we have a new subreddit just for Series 7 test takers. Okay, paid supplements. Here we go. So the 2 best paid supplements. So today, Brian, somebody said, should they buy Achievable as a supplement? And I said, I recommend Test Geek as a better supplement. I think Brian all in for his videos and his PDF. You can get the PDF separately. I think he raised his prices, so I think 20% gets us to about $100, Brian. Is that right?
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
So I think that what I recommended. That person already had a Kaplan Q-Bank, which is my other recommendation. The Kaplan Q-Bank is the best, and you can get a 10% discount code using Guru 10 at checkout. So those are the 2 recommendations we have if you'd like to add a paid supplement. Now, I wish people would listen to me on this next discussion. The 3 styles of questions you're going to get on your exam are recognition, practical application, and judgment. You can't be giving up recognition and practical application questions. Recognition is like, what's settlement? Practical applications, can you calculate current yield? Judgment questions, there could be 2 right answers, and you could get marked wrong if you don't come with the better of the 2 answers. Now, the reason I bring this up is Brian has been kind enough to provide us with his content. And I don't know why on a judgment question, it's a judgment question. I mean, you can make an argument for the wrong answer, but, it's Brian's question. I provided this person Brian's, explanation, and I told him to call Brian. Brian's more than happy to talk to you about his content. And I don't know why the guy doesn't want to call Brian. So he's getting into a tit for tat with me about Brian's question. I said, please call Brian. Anyways, then he said, well, I checked with 3 other instructors. I just want to assure you that the experience of Brian and myself, I kind of got upset with the guy. I said, listen, you can check with 20 other instructors and they don't have the experience of Brian and myself. So I don't know why you want to go off the reservation to get help. I just told you Brian's here to help you. I'm here to help you. So on those judgment questions, whether it's STC versus Kaplan, it's usually 9, 10, 24 stuff that's judgment questions. But just be careful of those judgment questions because they're, you can argue all you want, but the test is looking for a particular type of answer. So Brian and I both have a question about college education and the answer being a 0 coupon bond. And we get all the time people saying, well, why not a 529? And the questions, both his and my version of the same question, which is based on Debrief, it says set sum of money. And you can't get a set sum of money in a 529. So that means the 529 now becomes the wrong answer. So things like that. Last week, we did what happened here? Let's see. Boom. There we go. We did a lottery for a free hour of, let me just fix this real quick. I don't want that to scroll. There we go. We did a lottery. Now it looks like I shouldn't have done that. Does it let me do that? There we go. Well, it looks like it's going to do a ticker for a free hour of tutoring. And the reception was so well that people said, gee, Dean, can we do a little lottery every week? And so at the end of this, our weekly session now, we will have a drawing. It's a, if you were here last week, you put the code word I'm going to give you at the end of the thing into the chat. We have a wheel, it spins, and then comes up a winner. What you win is a 30-minute coaching call that's 5 p.m. Thursday, January 12th. This drawing will always be for a Thursday 30-minute coaching call. So the next week we do, it'll be 19th. You can assign that coaching call to a test taker of your choice. You need to claim it within an hour of our close, and then I'll send you a Zoom invite. The Zoom invite is yours to do what you want. If you want to share it, you want to assign it to somebody else, whatever you'd like to do. So we will now make that a part of our call. Okay, let's get into our questions and comments. Woohoo! All right. Let me get rid of that banner. Passing through. There you go. So Matthew 66, I think means you're done, my friend, investment advisor rep. So I call it the registration test taking hat trick. Woohoo!
Got the magic P.
The magic P. I don't understand what your comment is. Most Series 7 questions are in placing orders and disclosure timing for trades. That is not true in terms of the grammar that I'm understanding the question. Most of your Series 7 questions are in function 3 investments. You're going to get about 20 questions on options, give or take 5. Brian thinks less than that. I think about 20. Definitely munis, 15, 20 muni questions, mutual funds. So you are going to know about market orders and limit orders. I have a just recently published a video on that, so you can check that out. So put that back into the chat if I'm misunderstanding what you're asking, or you're telling us. I'm not sure what you're saying there. Divine Goth, you're one of my favorites. We have a victorious test taker in the house. Woohoo! Not only is Divine Goth a successful test taker in our social media communities on the Reddit, she always gives great answers, Brian. Sometimes her answers are better than what I think you and I might come up with. So, listen, when you matriculate through your exams, you don't have to leave the community. We come into your life for a reason and a season. The reason is to pass your exams, make your mark, get your P, and the season is how long it takes to do that. And I've had people send me a nice thank you note and say they're unsubscribing from the channel because they've now done that. You don't necessarily have to do that. I get it. But if you want to stick around and help pay it forward, we're certainly glad when you choose to do that. So divine gratification and thanks to you. I know you're now working on, I think, on your 24, and I appreciate you being around. Mark Anthony, I like that. That's a great name, both ancient Roman as well as a famous music guy. Do you think I can release the 63 exam early? So Mark, let me put that up there. I will try. I'm not very good at technical stuff, but if you send me an email, Mark, at deantenney@gmail.com, I'll try and send you a private copy of that 63 video that's going to be published on Thursday. So just send me in the subject line, put 63 video, and I will track it down and see if I can send that to you early. I'm trying to stick to the publishing schedule, so I don't mind, if you're, a user of our social media to try and help you out with like that. So, okay, let's see. Math calculations will nowhere near, Erica, what you sent me to explicate. Those were some real beer. I feel sorry for anybody using past perfect, because past perfect goes, way into the weeds on lots of stuff. Erica sent me one. I explicated it for her and put it on the channel, Brian, but it was about interpolation. How long has it been since anybody had an interpolation question? I mean, oh my God.
I first read it in my Series 7 textbook in 1993.
So Erica, we are going to be drawing names at the end for a coaching call, 30-minute coaching call. You like the draw? Okay, yeah. So like I say, if you're a victorious test taker, which I think Vidya is, remember, you can assign it to someone else, and you can, if you want, you can share it with a group. I don't care if I log on that call and there's 15 of your friends. I don't care. It'd be more helpful, by the way, when you get if you win and you get the Zoom, if you do tell me what you'd like to talk about, because that we don't burn up a lot of time trying to figure out what we're going to talk about. How do you calculate yields? Well, you need the teeter-totter for that. The only yield you're going to have to actually calculate is the current yield. Other than that, you just need to know where those are in relationship to each other. So FIMI, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. The timestamp is 1441. And in 1441 on the replay, when you watch the replay, I'll post a little 15-minute video on just that for you. So just check the replay. I usually do it after we in this session. I go back and I put timestamps on so like 4 minutes in is a Series 7 debrief. 14.
May I interject here, Dean?
Sure, absolutely. Go ahead.
The question concerns me a little bit.
Because yields,
but they put the municipal bonds kind of as a qualifier at the end, as if it were something different than any other bond yields.
Yeah, Erica, I had this conversation with Erica. I think I did, Erica, in email. So Brian and I go back to the days when the Series 7 was 250 questions, 2 3-hour sessions. And in those days, FINRA had an agreement with the MSRB that there had to be 55 questions on munis. When they changed the format, that is no longer true. But there are lots of what I call with test prep vendors, legacy muni questions. Questions that used to be there years ago, but haven't been tested. But I get it. Nobody wants to say I got less questions. For example, sometimes when people watch my memory aid video, tips, tricks, and memory aids, they'll say, oh, you don't have pro golfers don't miss. You don't have pretty girls date more. I go, well, nobody's seen that in years. Now, I know, Brian, I'm now going to get 6 people who told me they actually saw that on the exam, though, even though I've had no report thousands of students later. So that, and you don't have anything on how to calculate the property taxes based on the mill rate. I said, you're not going to have to do that, general understanding of property taxes. So all vendors, I think, are guilty of legacy questions, particularly on munis. And Past Perfect is guilty on that, I think, is what's the biggest offender. That being said, you do need to know the teeter-totter seesaw and that relationship. And I'll certainly post that video for you. How do you know when you're ready? By doing an intellectual inventory, Cynthia, and taking a practice test. So Brian's practice test, I think, has the best correlation possible. And so if you go onto the channel, you'll find Brian's Test Geek practice final. You can hit pause, try and answer it, hit play, see me explain it to you. And whatever that score is, I think will give you a good idea. I would like you to be in the 70s on that. You can also buy that as a PDF from Brian. I don't know why people misinterpret this. If you just want Brian's PDF, in other words, you want to turn it into a poor man's flashcards, or you want to have a physical copy of it, I think it's like $20 with the discounts like 16, but all it is the physical, version of that, that's not going to be his videos or any of his other stuff. But Eric says when Dean says you're ready, but you need to get a mark. I call it a mark, Cynthia. So let me just see what Brian's got on his board over there. And let me give him the whole screen.
Practice finals from the textbook, whichever textbook you're using. Mm-hmm. My practice final. And don't forget, FINRA's got a practice final.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
As well.
Yeah, my 2 practice finals. One is I did a doppelganger of the FINRA SIE. So you can also, Cynthia, watch me do the FINRA exam and hit pause, same deal. And then I wrote a test exactly the opposite of that. So same answer sets, but different questions. And then I also have one based on debrief. So I think there's now up to, Brian, there's like 7 practice finals in the playlist. The best, all our practice final playlists for all the series. Brian's practice tests are the best in terms of correlation. So we have lots of them. We have 2 Kaplan ones in there. We have mine. We have a Mometrics final in there. But if you're looking for correlation, Brian is the king of that. I'm so proud of Erica passing her SIE. I believe in tough love. So I think, Erica, you were going to get mad at me because I've been kind of aggressive with Erica, telling her to stay on the broad avenues and highways of the information. So I always worry about her going down some Past Perfect rabbit hole of some sort, So transactions under 33. I don't have any mnemonic devices for that. I use, Trevor, a verb versus a noun. So exempt securities are a noun, a laundry list of issuers that are exempt, and exempted transactions are how they're sold. Under 33, there's not many. Under 33, the safe harbors are Rule 147, Reg A, Reg D, pretty much it, I think. Am I missing anything there, Brian? And then I would spend most of the time on the Uniform Securities Act. Would I like you to know everything? The answer is yes. But, make sure you contrast it. One other point, Trevor, somebody asked me about a chart today. Listen, I get no commissions from Brian, but they were looking for a grid of this. And Brian in his PDF has a beautiful, I think you call a cheat sheet?
Well, the PDF just has a little chart, for exempt securities.
And what I do, Trevor, is I just have people put the thing in the box when I'm using Brian's stuff for for tutoring. Sometimes people at Brian, like today, I just had somebody bought Brian's thing and he goes, I don't even know what to do with this. I said, well, let's put it on a shared screen and let's go through it. So, good news. I got permission from Brian to actually put those kind of sessions on the channel as well.
And we don't have to determine between federal and USA exemptions.
Yeah. So Trevor, good point, right? You just need to know the rules.
And there's only going to be two, most likely on the 65. Yeah. No more than that.
Yeah. Woohoo! Divine goss. So net capital. Remember, if you are in violation net capital, that's when SIPC. So I have a supplemental video, Divine Goth, on net capital. It's in the 24 playlist. I think it's pretty good. I mean, I was a FinOp, so I think I have a pretty good perspective on fiscal responsibility. Margin, you're not going to get more than 2 or 3 margin questions. I was looking at tutoring using Brian's PDF, and he says, I think 5 or 6. I think 2 or 3, but
margin, yeah. 3 is about average.
I said that people have been encountering a question on the Series 7 about universal life illustrations. And in that illustration, you get a recognition question that you're using a hypothetical illustration for variable life, which universal life is a part of that. You get a question about which of the following is true. And they give you a bunch of numbers, and you got to pick that you can use a 12% as the max return you can use, but it has to have one time frame with a 0 in it, which would bring that down. The PDF, do you have that as they can hit the PDF?
Brian? Yeah, it's on my site. Yeah.
Let me just get that
was testgeekexamprep.com. There's no.
There you go. Boom. So that's the email. Hold on. There we go.
Was that for the SIE?
The SIE, she says.
Yeah, I don't have the SIE PDFs.
Oh, okay. We're gonna get some?
Sorry.
All right. Well, we'll try and get some someday for you.
There's the video with the PDFs.
Okay, there's a video that comes with the PDFs, but that's not a separate item, I guess.
I guess we ought to put some separate SIE.
Yeah, why not? Why not? PDFs. We've been talking about doing a collaboration. I think our SIE is the first one we were talking about. Yeah. Let us know too. I told you I put up polls. I'll put up a poll on the community page. Brian and I were talking today about maybe doing a podcast, and that's something that for 2023 perhaps. I have a whole video on that. So this is 2226. So tomorrow in the replay, look for stock plus options, and you will see a video.
Cam, that's called a hedge.
That's right. Remember, you're either going to have no cam studios. You're either going to have a long stock position or a short stock position. And you're either interested in protection, which means you're going to buy a put if it's a long stock or buy a call if it's short stock, or income, covered call, very testable. I don't think you're going to have to realize a short put on a short stock position, anything other than it still is, unlimited risk. But I'll put that in there for you. I have in the options playlist, no cam. That whole playlist is like, 40 videos. But the first 4 are mandatory. The first video is basics. The second video is stock plus options. And the third video, there's 4 lectures, but 3 videos, is advanced option strategies. Straddles and the spread. So we have a lot of help for you on that channel. We did a straddle, I think, at the end of the session last time. If we have time, maybe Brian will be kind enough, or I'll stick around and get a whiteboard and walk you through an example of that. Well, you should always start by reading the book. So, I had a guy who was incredulous when I told him you need to read the Series 7 book, and it's a big book. He said, well, how long is that going to take? I said, well, read for an hour, see how many pages you've read, and then divide the page count by your reading rate, and that will tell you how many hours it's going to take you to get through the Series 7 book. Now, in terms of total study time, everybody's different. So I don't know. Do you have any guesstimate on study time on Series 7?
Average is 4 to 6 weeks, but this
it's not going to be anywhere close to 3 days.
3 days. Jeez.
By the way, we had a guy on the social media, Brian. He was doing a flex on passing his SIE without reading the book, and I kind of was like, gee whiz, it's a good thing this is anonymous, because if you were that excited about that, I don't know if I want to give you money to manage. He's talking about how you're a finance major and he breathes finance. I'm like, yeah, I'm not a big past perfect fan. So, I'm not a big fan, but it's plenty of information for sure. But you might want to get a Cap on QBank just to confirm when you're getting into the minutia. or, even Brian's supplement. I truly believe you need a supplement. It could be my channel, but you need something besides Past Perfect. Now, it's even worse because some of you work at firms where they won't let you move on Past Perfect to Unit 20 unless you've mastered like Unit 19, and you can get stuck for a long time. I would tell you in the tutoring replays, I have a tutoring session I did. This is ridiculous, but it is what it is, where we spent an hour just doing Past Perfect practice questions.
Wow.
Hellacious margin questions. So I don't know why you'd want to do that, but if you want to see me, help somebody with some Past Perfect margin questions, that's in the tutoring replay list. Can't see the board, can't tag the board. Well, there's nothing on it presently, but we'll see what. Yeah, well, if you're doing Series 6, remember we have a new Series 6 community called Reddit Series 6, our Series 6. So join us over there. I think we got 5-minute members. We just started yesterday. So, every one of our communities, we've started at 0. And as I said, I don't know how you feel, Brian, but I feel like the 6s sometimes get lost in the mix because we're spending a lot of time on SIE right. And 7 and, 66s.
Since it's only got 50 questions, I think, we kind of push it back a little bit.
Well, in the poll, same thing. The 6 always comes up last in terms of content request in the poll, but that's because there's not as many 6s around. Kaplan, how long should it take to get through it? Again, Erica, just read for an hour, see how many pages it was, then do the page count, divide by that reading rate, and that will tell you how many hours. So,
I read the thing 3 times. So,
well, my study effort, I always read the book cover to cover and as close to one setting as possible, not highlighting, not taking notes. And then after I'm done with my study effort, I go back and do that again, because I have had some people, Brian, who have highlighted their entire Series 7 book. And I said, well, listen, not that entire thing is, is testable. So maybe you want to buy a different color highlighter and go back and do it again.
I tell people when I was in college, I didn't even own a highlighter.
Yeah. So anyways, for what it's worth, there's no circumstance in which you should, I get this all the time. Do I have to read the book? The answer is yes. So, if you choose not to, it's like, again, the playlist, it's a buffet. Take what you like, leave what you don't. But I think you are not executing a study plan that doesn't include as the first step, reading the book. Practice, drill, and rehearse, I think, is really important. Well, there you go. You got to be able to take down any draw, whether it's the face of death draw or, the dream draw. I'm wishing for you dream draw. Everything you studied shows up. You go, man, I don't know what the big deal was. But, make sure you can take down any draw. There you go. That's exactly right. Our test takers have encountered some difficult draws last week or so, but they've been taking them down. So, get that P, as Brian says. Well, the test question, Brian, is about currency risk. So the key word is dollar. And the test is very egocentric. So 2802, I'm going to give an explanation here. So in a euro dollar bond, the European issuer, foreign issuer, is borrowing US dollars. It needs to pay back in US dollars. And the test question, Brian, is therefore you have no currency risk. So if I have a euro dollar bond from Nestle, I'm going to get paid back in Swiss francs. If I have a Heineken euro dollar bond, I'm going to get paid back in dollars. That's a Dutch beer company. Now, if it's a euro bond, I'm lending Nestle at Swiss francs, or I'll use Heineken. I'm lending them euros, and I expect to be paid back in euros. And their test question, I do have currency risk, right? Because I'm going to have to turn the euros into dollars. By the way, if you tell me, Brian, you missed the SIE because of the difference between a euro dollar bond and a euro bond, I'm going to say, I don't believe that. But the answer to your question is euro dollar, no currency risk, dollar. Euro bond, the missing word is dollar. So euro dollar bonds have no foreign currency risk and euro bonds do. All right. Past perfect. Well, there you go. Past perfect is, it is what it is. So. Series 9, Eli, I told you, Series 9, 10s, and 24. So Divine Goth as well. The real challenge on 9 and 10 and 24 is you get a lot of judgment questions, which makes sense, right? You're a sales supervisor or general securities principal. And I get into this all the time with people who are using STC or using Kaplan or Past Perfect, and they have a question they think is the same question with different answers, and it's not the same question. It's the same general idea, but it's a little different. So, for example, STC has a question about going to a sporting event and what should you do if the rep gets sick? And there's no choice about, whether they can go or not. It's the best answer. And that answer set is send another rep to accompany the client. Now, Kaplan has a very similar question, but that isn't available. And the answer in the Kaplan version of that question is you tell the client that there's no need. In this situation, it's a kid that's sick of the rep. And the best answer available there is document it. So when FINRA comes in, you have documentation. So that's the challenge, I think, on those kind of exams. You make the call, so to speak, which is to be expected. On SIE 6 and 7, you always have an answer called check with your immediate supervisor. And that's always the right answer on those exams. But that is not available to you as a 9, a 10, or 24. I think a 68, 75, I think means you're in pretty good shape. I wouldn't think you're a risk. What do you think, Brian? You think that is a good score?
I like it. You're right there.
Yeah. So I'm not worried about you, Eli. Would we like to not see anything below 70? That would be ideal. So we can do a couple more and get above that 70 range. I'd feel a little more comfortable. Sure. I don't know why, Trevor. The explications I have available are the same in the 60. There's nothing in the 66 playlist that is not in the 65 playlist in terms of explications. So you certainly watch that, but I mean, it's the same content. If you want to do Brian's, exam over there, it's the same as the 65, except it doesn't have economics, I think. Are your 66 and 65 practice tests the same except for the additional content on 65? I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Trevor, you can join me Thursday at 2 hours. What a slog. We are premiering a 65 practice exam. I got permission from a company called Mometrics. I'm not sure if you've been using these. I'm not sure I'm a big fan, but they gave me permission to explicate. And Trevor, some of them have been okay. I give them a B. They're not as good as Brian. They're not as good as mine. They're not as good as Kaplan. I think Brian is the best in terms of diagnostic. Mine is based on debrief. But that being said, I am premiering a 2-hour version of 130 performance opportunity practice exam. Welcome to join me in chat. And the answer key, if you want a sneak peek, Trevor, you can check out the video description and you'll see the answer key and the things we're going to be talking about. The answer is 66 would not do any harm. I'm just not sure why you'd want to do that. Yeah, I don't think it's easy. I don't think, Myra, we said it's easy. If that's what we said, that's not what we meant to say. What I do say about the SIE is it's more recognition. So there's two things I'd say about SIE. It's more recognition than what you're going to encounter later on. And I can't stress this enough. You will get huge dividends from executing a SIE study plan in depth. The more time you spend in the SIE, the more dividends that's going to pay on either your 6 or your 7 moving forward, because there's a lot of overlap. So if you're an SIE test taker, please, just in your own mind, say, I really want to not barely pass this thing. I want to, because I know there's no sunken intellectual costs on the SIE, performance. Yeah, I put those up, Eli. Again, another slog. I accidentally hit pause. So there's now a Kaplan Series 9 practice final you can watch me do. Hit pause, hit play. And I don't think I've time-stamped it, Eli, yet. And there's also a 10 as well. So if you're going to do your 10, have you done your 10 already? I can't recall where you're at. Same Divine Goth, there's a 24 practice exam up there. I have permission from Mometrics to do their 9s, their 10s, and their 24s. I'm not sure if I'm moving forward with that. So if you are somebody who has used one of those practice tests from Mometrics, I'd be interested in your thoughts on, is it worthwhile to continue on with them or if we should just cut them loose? There you go. So straddle's pretty straightforward. Can you identify it? Can you calculate the break-evens? Can you determine where it's profitable? When do you use it? Spreads, 8 things. Identify it, debit or credit, exercise or expire, widen or narrow, max gain, max loss, break even, bullish or bearish. So we have lots of videos on that. I probably have 6, 7 videos on spreads and straddles. But the main one is video number 3, advanced option strategies. You got a caller? Well, I have a caller, Eli, video, and it's the caller videos in the 7 playlist if you need to review that. So a caller is where you sell a call to pay for the put. Eli, I'm demented. I always knew this story, but I was watching Mark Cuban be interviewed, and I thought he had just bought a put on the Yahoo. And come to find out he did a caller. It was nothing to do with options, but The guy had asked him how he avoided the dot-com implosion because he had a $1 billion position in Yahoo. That's the foundation of his fortune. He said, I did a caller. I said, a caller? And he said he sold the call to pay for the put, so he had no out-of-pocket cost on the protection. So anyways, I have a whole video on callers. You can find it in the 7 playlist if you need to review that. Nope, you don't take haircuts on exempt securities, Candace. The most common haircut is 15%. And you would take a additional haircut at IPOs would be 30%. I'll post, this is timestamp 3523, Candace. So I will post a video on net capital and haircuts on that. What did I say I was going to post at 2802? I said I was going to post something. Oh, well. I'll post that for you. 40% for limited trading market. And then undue concentration is if we have a one securities position, Candace, that exceeds 10% of our tentative net capital. Very important vocabulary term, tentative net capital before haircuts. On the amount that exceeds, I have to take an additional haircut. So for example, if I have a tentative net capital of 600,000, your point about exempt securities, by the way, if my inventory is 600 and tentative net capital, 10% of that's 60, but it's 100,000 treasury bonds, I don't have to take the haircut, the additional haircut. But assuming that's like a stock, I would take 15% on the 100,000 and an additional 15% on the 40 that exceeded that. So I don't think you're going to get a lot of fiscal responsibility on 24.
Yeah.
What do you think? Recognition of haircuts?
I'm cringing on this because it generally doesn't go that deeply with a lot of this.
Okay.
It might be what's the general haircut for an IPO?
Yeah. Yeah. So Candace, in that video, I also talk about debit by 1.3, credit by debit 0.75. So there's other stuff in there besides haircuts. Where can you buy the Series 7 book? Well, you can go to kaplanfinancial.com. I don't have a banner for that, but if you just go to kaplanfinancial.com, Tanya, at checkout, you put in discount code at checkout. Discount code is Guru10 and you get 10% off. So you can buy the book, you can buy flashcards, you can buy quick sheets, you can buy a QBank, Kaplan's got like 3 versions and then a bunch of a la carte stuff. So if you're asking about Kaplan, that's where you can buy the Kaplan book. What are my rates? My rates for tutoring, I'm pretty expensive. I'm $225 an hour. So that's why that coaching call is a very good value. Brian is a much better value. He's $90 an hour. So if you want to book tutoring with me, I have a booking page and it's automatic and it's prepaid. So Brian, I've been doing this for years. I've never had somebody dispute a charge with me. And I got a disputed charge. They said they didn't know what it was for. And I said, well, how could they not want to know what it's for? Because they're the ones who hit the button. And, Square says, Dean, you have a track record with us where you've never had a disputed your charge for tens of thousands of dollars with no ever any problem. I go, and why do I have one now? So it's so crazy. So one margin question. There you go. So that coaching call, Erica, is $112.50 value, basically. How many math questions should you be expecting on Series 7? Well, you definitely got to do parity. You got to do current yield light year. I'm going to post. We're at 38.25. And I'm going to post my video, all the math you need for the Series 7. It's a whole video. It was, by the way, it's surprising. The videos I think are going to be popular, Brian, never are. But the videos that people request are always so much more popular. And I had somebody, I don't like doing a light year, what I call laundry list videos, where, I go through a list of things. I just don't like that. I like narrative kind of stuff. But anyway, somebody literally asked me to make a video of all the math. So I just go through all the math that you would find. Now, I've had people tell me, well, you don't have that math on there. You forgot that. I go, no, remember, if it's not there, I didn't forget it. I didn't put it in there because I don't think it's necessary, right? So, but I'll put that there for you. In terms of math, what do you think? Half a dozen? I don't know.
I always tell people less than 10% of the test.
Yeah, if you tell, I would put it this way, like you're on all the exams. I think Brian and I are simpatico on this. If you tell us you missed the mark because of math, I don't think we're going to believe you. That's even on 65 and 66 as well. Would you concur, Brian?
I absolutely.
Now,
math for me is not why you pass or fail the exam.
Yeah. And Lightyear, what's funny is Brian is one of the biggest math geeks around. So And he's telling you I'm not a math person, but he certainly is. So, you can trust Brian in terms of math. Whole book. Yeah, there you go. Well, I told you, Eric, I'm not worried about you being dedicated, disciplined, and organized. I don't think you're at risk. The only thing, Erica, that when I'm helping you out and you're saying, keep them coming. But I do get a little worried sometimes when I get a question from you, and it makes me think you're not on the broad avenues and highways of the information. No fault of your own, by the way. I understand you're using Past Perfect, and I'm glad you're staying in touch with me so I can tell you that, right? Get back on the main highway here. Don't be going down that rabbit hole with Past Perfect.
Alice's rabbit hole.
Yeah. I don't know what you mean, Erica. Growth bonds. I don't know of anything called a growth bond. So I'm not sure. The only bond you might have potential growth would be a convertible bond. Maybe that's what you meant. There you go, Divine Goth. Listen, we have some very successful test takers, and I can almost always tell the test takers when they're sharing with me their study plan and their execution, and I see them on the channel, I see them in our live stream, I see them on the Reddit. I go, yeah, those people, they know what they're doing in terms of executing a study plan. If you need help for that, by the way, I will post. This is 4108. Brian, I have been taking advantage of all your free content on YouTube.
Good.
And yesterday I posted your study plan video from YouTube to a person who was asking about a study plan. So I'll post Brian's free YouTube video on executing study plan at 41.
If I may, Dean, it's interesting because I just got a reply on one of my YouTube videos that said about that introductory how to study video. They go, there's no content here. This is basic test taking 101. I said, yeah, you'd be shocked as to how many people do not have.
Well, as we said, Divine Goth probably doesn't need to watch Brian's video.
No.
but some of us, everybody starts at a different spot.
That's right.
So I don't know. Like, again, sometimes I'm an older person myself, and so the way I would probably go about things is going to be different than somebody. Like I had somebody. I got to admit, I'm prejudicial. She told me she learned. I said, well, where'd you learn that? I was impressed, and she told me TikTok. I'm like, really? You can learn things on TikTok? I was shocked. Now, she's 23 and a college student, and she's still in that kind of mode as a learner. I mean, more power to her. I don't think she needs to, have help about how to pass tests because she's been a successful test taker pretty recently. If it's been a while. By the way, she was telling me I need to get on TikTok. I go, that so does not speak to me in any way. There you go. Well, we'll be here. We should be here in 2024. I would hope I'm still here. This is year 3 in my social media venture. So, Vidya, what happened was the pandemic hit, and I thought, well, I'm not sure I'm ever going to be able to teach a live class again. So I decided I need to come up with a direct connection to test takers, not dependent on their sponsoring broker dealer or their test prep vendor. So, and that hence is the YouTube channel. So, and boy, I was shocked. I mean, we just crossed 1.2 million in views. I don't, Vinya, ask people to like stuff or subscribe because I just think it's, either speaks to you or it doesn't. But that being said, we have 1.2 million in views and we have like 11,000 something subscribers. So I've been shocked about, how much this resource has been helpful to folks. And it's very gratifying that people have used us. We have a lot of people now, Vidya, who have used us for their SIE, matriculated to their 7, and then matriculated through their 66, and now matriculating to their 9, their 10 or 24. And we love that because I'm so thankful Eli 9s and 10s, Divine Goth 24s, because I know they know the content can be trusted, and we get lots of referrals. Sending back the junior people back to the channel for their SIE, their 6 or 7, whatever the case may be. Past Perfect goes overboard on everything, including taxes. So again, we're at 4402.
Calculations.
I will post a video on taxes. I call it death and taxes. No, just taxes. So I will post that at 4402 for you. And you can use the channel in that regard as a confirmation, right? So if you see it in my video or you see it in Brian's content, I told you I was using Brian's PDF in a tutoring session today. And, he's spot on, and, it's confirmation. I tell you it's on the test. Brian tells you it's on the test. You watch a video and Dean tells you it's on the test. Angels weep for you if you then don't get that. So now the problem with Past Perfect sometimes is that you can be studying stuff. I mean, some people have enough brain space, but you can be studying stuff that might be taking up space that's needed for other things. I mean, it just depends how big your brain housing group is, right? So that's the danger. So I would use either the free supplement. If you're using Past Perfect, my recommendation is you need some kind of a supplement to confirm things. Don't get me wrong. Past Perfect has plenty of content you can pass with their content. But if you're trying to decide whether it's, on the broad avenues or highways, use either my channel as a free supplement or Brian as a paid supplement or a Kaplan Q Bank. Brian and the Kaplan Q Bank is the person who was considering Achievable. I just said you can get a Kaplan Q Bank and Brian's whole video and PDF for a little less. So that would be my recommendation. I would highly recommend if you're using Past Perfect to get some kind of a supplement. Not because there's not enough, it's because there's too much. Lightyear, I'm very familiar with training consultants. Training consultants, I think, is again one of the standard vendors. I don't think that you have any problem using training consultant. Now, my personal opinion, so this is a personal opinion, I think they're a little light. So Past Perfect, a little too much. Training consultant, a little light. And if you're worried about it being too light in terms of not having enough for like practice questions, stuff like that, you know what Dean's going to say, add a supplement, either a free supplement like the channel or paid supplement. But I would feel more comfortable if you had a something beyond your training consultant material. What do you think, Brian?
Absolutely. Training consultant is a little on the light side, especially for the 65, 66.
Yeah. And good news, though, nobody has told us they're using AD Banker. So woohoo!
I still do run into them from time to time, the AD
Okay.
Banker folks, yeah.
Would you guys recommend it? Well, if you were starting as a tabula rasa, that's a blank slate, and asking me for what vendor you should use. Now, you should understand, Kaplan, I'm a senior instructor emeritus. I'm paid by Kaplan as an independent contractor to deliver classes for them. And if I didn't think Kaplan was the best, I wouldn't be taking their money. So I would say Kaplan, but I'm not worried about somebody using STC. I'm not worrying about anybody using Notman, a Kaplan. I'm a little worried. Not everybody needs anything at Past Perfect. I mean, I told you those minimum with big brain housing groups probably don't need to worry about getting a supplement. But you can get, even if you have a big brain, Past Perfect, I just feel uncomfortable with people getting in the weeds. So I think if you had that, at least you'd have some confirmation of what's testable. Like that, Erica. I'm just thinking of the question you sent me this morning, right? I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy. I mean, so. Any other vendors? So training consultant, we think a little light, but I'm not worried about you. I'd be worried if you had AD Banker. Who else is out there?
ExamFX.
Yeah. ExamFX, I think, could put you at risk. They've moved with training consultant. Ken Finn and Capital Advantage Tutoring has a nice resource video. I don't put things on my channel that don't fit a playlist because, I don't have like videos that aren't about a particular series exam, but he has a nice video on resources. And so you might want to check that out. He goes through all the vendors and tells you what he thinks of them. I'm in pretty much concurrence with Ken. Ken and I don't agree about a lot of things, but that we do agree on. So you might want to check that out. There's a link in my channel on the homepage to Ken. Okay. I don't know what you mean by RR prohibition, things reps can't do. I have a rules of the road video.
Lie, cheat, steal.
yeah. So, but if you send me an email, I do take lecture requests. So if you can just expand on that a little bit for me in an email, I'm more than happy to make a video. Yeah, point and click, aim and shoot. Those are recognition questions. Yeah, I'm so glad, Erica, because you got to have confidence in your answers. I'm not a big fan of changing answers. Good test takers, we want to model good test takers. Good test takers answer quickly and they trust themselves. You should only change an answer if you know you got it wrong and you know what the right answer is. By the way, both. Not that you got it wrong. You got it wrong, know what the right answer is. Otherwise, leave it alone.
And the one you're replacing it with is right.
Yeah, otherwise, leave it alone.
You got to pass those two criteria.
That's right. So I'm glad you're not overthinking. Particularly, you don't want to burn up time on a recognition question, right? Recognition questions like T+1 or T+2, that should be 10 seconds. Yeah. That's flashcard stuff. That's what I mean by point and click, aim and shoot, right? You shouldn't be burning up brain cells. And if you don't know it, you're not going to pull it out of the universe somewhere. So you just need to guess B, assign it to the universe and move on. So again, it's a buffet. If you're not, if you don't like something, don't put it on your tray. But both Brian and I think you should be confident in your answers. We've got a guy testing tomorrow. I said, be confident in yourself, be confident in the execution of your study plan. Most importantly, Be confident in your answers. There you go. Reg FD, I don't think on Series 7, we can cover it real quick. This is 4949. I'm a big fan of Chairman Levitt. Chairman Levitt of the SEC published a book called Taking on the Street. It was his memoir. And he said that, I don't think it's fair that companies, issuers, public companies, have conversations with institutional investors that they're not shareholders, that they're not sharing with retail investors. Shareholders are shareholders. And so what Reg FD says is you can't, David, make selective disclosure. By the way, I think we have 9s and 10s and 24s joining us. This is very testable on those exams. And so, the CEO, for example, I can't tell how many times people get in trouble. The CEO's talking like Fidelity or T. Rowe Price, and he says, we're going to have a difficult 12 to 18 months ahead. And he hangs up the phone. His general counsel says, listen, you just made selective disclosure to Fidelity. You now need to fix that. You need to tell everybody that information. Every shareholder is entitled to know that it's going to be a difficult 12 to 18 months, whatever it is you said. So if you catch the violation, the selective disclosure, you can fix it with what's called an 8K within 24 hours. So 2 test questions for 24s, 9s, and 10s. No selective disclosure, no whispering. And 9, 10s, 24s, how do you fix it? 8K within 24 hours. Don't think you're going to see that on a 7. Do you think that's a 7 question, David? Or excuse me, Brian?
No, I don't.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Well, I don't have a video on just documents, but I do talk about documents and underwriting municipals. I talk about the official statement, the trust indenture. I talk about all that stuff. So I'll post that at 5133. Oh, man, I wrote down my timestamps. I didn't say what I was going to type. Oh, that was Reg FD. Reg FD.
Dean, if you don't mind, if I interject here.
Always welcome, Brian.
This is personal. This is my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like creating mental boxes
Yeah.
where you put math in, or a mental box in which you put documents in.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You have to know their context.
Well, that's what I just said. I'm with you, Brian.
And legal opinions and underwriting agreements.
Yeah.
Where does that go? You gotta put.
I'm with Brian on that. No, Cam. So I guess here's what I would say. So in the context, a notice of sale should be a hint to you. It's a competitive underwriting of munis, right? And in the context of that, we would publish it in what's called the bond buyer. So I'm with Brian on that. I think it's easier for your brain to say, where does this belong, right? The official statement is a prospectus. So I'm with Brian on that. There are questions about documents, so like red herrings, preliminary prospectus. So I'm with Brian. Yeah. So you should know during the cooling off period, we're going to use a preliminary prospectus, red herring, no final offering price. So that I'm kind of no surprise. Brian and I are simpatico on a lot of things. So, well, we have a whole video on tips, tricks, and memory aids. So I'll post that for you at 5301.
When?
It's that tips, tricks, and memory aids, Erica, is my most popular video. It's 50,000 views or something.
Box.
So, but it's a popular box. I'm in the.
It is.
I'm in the box.
I know. I get the question all the time. What formulas should I study?
I don't have paid supplements to, so I got to do what I got to do. I don't know, Zelda. It sounds like you're going to have to make a decision there. It's your second time. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. You got 3 times. So I know sometimes when I'm sick, my concentration goes up. I'm a huge NBA fan, Zelda, and some NBA players have some of their best games. So that's a personal decision for you. I would maybe check with your firm and see what their thoughts are. You're not going to take, if you miss it, it doesn't count as a miss. So if you don't take the test.
I'm a man. I am the biggest baby when I'm sick. I wouldn't take it.
Okay. So, but Zelda, you don't take your second strike if you don't show up, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So, if you show up and you don't pass, that's going to be your second fail. When you get 3 before you're going to have to wait 6 months. So, I think it's personal decision. Brian's with you. He says, skip it. I'm kind of aggressive. I like to get it over. So, I'd probably, by the way, we also got to think about community health too, Zelda. So depends how sick you are. If you're sneezing and coughing, it just aggravates me. When I teach live classes, I get so aggravated when somebody comes in and they're coughing and sneezing. I'm like, man, putting us all at risk. Amy, for ETFs, you need to know how they're different than an open-end mutual fund. They can be margined. They're more tax efficient, that kind of stuff. You should definitely know inverse and leveraged are trading vehicles, not long-term investments. And I don't think that's as big a deal on the SIE as it is on other things. I'm going to timestamp 5454, Amy, and I will put my video on mutual funds, and you can go in the timestamps and find the discussion on all those things. There's, about 5 or 10 minutes on that stuff. I don't think it's a big deal. What do you think? SIE high risk or not?
There might be one.
Yeah, I don't think that's high risk. I think we did that one already. Yeah, Mark's telling you the math is pretty simple. I agree. No, I wish, Cynthia, there were more math on 24, to be honest with you.
0.
Yeah, 0, or, maybe whenever somebody tells me that math, the only math I've ever had anybody report back on the 24 is debit by 0.75.
That's right.
And credit by 1.3, Cynthia. I wish there were more math, because math, there's no interpretation of the right answer. So, I mean, I wish there were more math. It's mostly judgment questions.
Yeah.
There you go. Kudos. Oh, you were in my 2-day class. Great. So I'm so glad for you. General Securities Principal. Victorious test taker in the house. Woohoo. Woohoo.
P.
Hey, yeah, got the P. All right. Well, I think it's time. Let's see just what we got here. I think it's time. Let me put the what you need to put into the chat if you want to participate in the drawing. Where is that? And I'll finish up while you're putting that in the chat. I will do that. Where did my banner go? There we go. So to participate in the drawing, you put coaching call into the chat, and I will bring that up shortly. There is no discount rate for my tutoring. There is no breakpoints. Breakpoints are calling discounts. We thought about that already, 70%. Oh, you saw an FD question, Joss, on the SIE? That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, thank you for giving us some debrief. Yeah, Brian is a big fan of that too, doing a brain dump sheet twice a day. I think morning and night is when I would suggest doing that, Divine God.
Yeah, very
so
much.
If I told you could have one sheet of paper with anything you wanted, what would be on it? Okay, I'll go back to the chat here in a bit, but let me bring up our device here. Boom. Boom. You have audio, Brian. So if you could tell me whether you can see the drawing thing. Can you see that in our?
It's too small. I can't see it.
Okay, let me start collecting our comments. Boom. Let me go full screen. Okay, you guys see that?
There you go.
So we have 21 entries. Now remember the deal on the coaching call. So while we're putting in entries, I'll give you a couple minutes to put in your entries. But while we're putting in the entries, remember it's going to be, the coaching call is going to be on the 19th at 5 p.m. It's 30 minutes. If you win the drawing, we now have 23 entries. If you win the drawing within an hour, send me an email, and then I will send you a Zoom invite either tonight or tomorrow for that time. If you don't want to use your coaching call, as I said, you can assign it to someone else. If you want to share your coaching call, you can do that as well. So we have 24 entries. Flo, thank you so much. Flo says she bought Brian's paid supplement.
Thank you. Yep.
Okay, we got 24 entries. Any more? Okay, once I hit the draw button, that's it. So it's kind of weird. We're showing more people in here that are drawing, but that's okay. Maybe people, maybe they're already passed and they don't want to do it. Oh, 26. There's a couple more.
I got a drum roll for you.
If you passed your test, as I said, you can give it to someone else. So it's not good for tutoring. It's good for if you want to use 30-minute coaching call as tutoring, that's fine. You can do that. But it's called a coaching call. It's 30 minutes. It's assigned on a Thursday. It'll always be Thursday, 5 o'clock the next week from the drawing. So, I don't want to have I'm kind of semi-retired and I don't feel retired as much as I used to, but I don't want to have, commitments floating around. So, it's not going to be a floating thing where you pick what 30 minutes you want, but you can give it to someone else if you'd like. You can share it. You can do with what you like. Okay. We got 26 entries. Last call. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to hit the draw button. We got 26 entries. Boom. We got Catherine Hepburn. So Jessica Ramirez is our winner. So Jessica, just go ahead and send me an email. Let me put that up there for you. Let me get rid of that. Divine Goth comment. And let me go get my email. Just email me and I will send you, Jessica, your Zoom invite for that free coaching call. Let me get rid of that. Stop sharing. And let's just make sure we've concluded our time together. I'm just checking to see if I missed any chats. So if you got buried with the coaching calls, just let me know here. Math the better, I'm with you. Okay, it looks like that's pretty much it. So remember, inch by inch, your exam is a cinch, yard by yard, your exam is hard, or as my friend Brian says,
you take the exam. Don't let the exam take you.
Okay, so Jessica, I'll be looking for your email. And again, when you give me the email, you should expect from me a Zoom invite for 5 p.m. Pacific time, January 19th, 30 minutes to discuss what you'd like on any exam, or share with your friend who does anything you'd like on an exam, or assign it to someone else that you know in the office who needs a coaching call. Anything else? All right, guys, we'll see you next Tuesday. Get your P. Thanks for joining us. And then remember, the tutoring replays will be up. I usually get it done after tonight. So if you go back, all those videos and things I promised will be in the video replay. So Candace 3523, you'll find a video on Net Capital. At 2226, you'll find Stock Plus Options, whoever that was that asked for that. You'll find at 4402 a link to a video on taxes. So that's pretty much how our coaching calls work, or excuse me, our live streams work. Let's see. Yeah, winning isn't it's the only thing David says. Vince Lombardi. His grandson is, I think, an offensive coordinator for somebody. I saw him the other day being interviewed. So you're welcome. You're welcome. Everybody have a good evening. Tell your friends to join us on Tuesdays. We're going to do the drawing. Did you guys like that before you check out? If you're still here, do you think that's worthwhile, or do you think it's kind of cheesy? Should we keep the drawing or ditch the drawing? I think we'll keep it. I think it's kind of fun. It does a little, flowers and stuff.
Does StreamYard do that for you?
Yeah. It's a StreamYard giveaway.
Cool.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.